Hey, this is Joseph with GreenFlux, back with another crazy FileMaker experiment. Today I'm going to show you how I made this Choropleth map in a FileMaker web viewer using LeafletJS. Now, Choropleth maps are similar to heat maps, but instead of a shaded region being part of a grid, it's a geographical region. So you average all the values in that region and then give that one area a specific color instead of a heat map, which is over a XY grid. So let's start out by checking out the leaflet docs, see how this map type works, and then I'll show you how I got it working in a FileMaker web viewer. Okay, here's the docs for Leaflet, and if you go to the tutorial section here, there's several different examples for different map types. We're going to be using this Choropleth map type. So if you look at this example here, it walks through several different steps as far as how you structure everything for the data that you're passing in for each state and the number that goes with that state, and then adding those points to the map. And you can go through this if you want, piece by piece, and try to learn how it works, or just go to the bottom. There's a standalone example. And then if you view source on this, you can just copy this and put it into a FileMaker web viewer, and you'll be pretty close. It won't quite load right off the bat. So there's a couple things you have to fix. You'll see a mix of single and double quotes in this. So first is just to replace all those double quotes with single quotes, assuming there's no nested quotes that actually need to have both. So just look closely at it. If you can safely swap out all those double quotes for single quotes, do that. You might have to use a template literal or backticks if things are nested, but that's the first thing. Then these US states, the JSON here, if you open up this file, you'll see that this is just declaring the state data variable here, which is an object that has a type of feature collection and then an array of features, and that's it. All of this is just a big array where every single one is a state, and it's listing those data points to create that shape, and then it has a name for that shape, and in there is a density. So this particular example is for a heat map, or rather a Choropleth map, showing the population density, and you can see like certain states are darker where there's a greater population. What I wanted to do is take this same map type, but then pass in your own numbers for whatever purpose. It could be like wherever you have the most customers, or where you're getting support tickets, or whatever you want to map to those states. So what I did is took this text doc, replaced the single quotes, and replaced this. Instead of having it as an external file, I just saved both of these, this HTML doc and this array of all the features here. They're both saved into the layout. So let's go into layout mode, and let me zoom out here. So I've got both right here. There's a text object, and it's just called text_HTML, and then one for the text GeoJSON. So that's the data. And I mapped over this data, used another program, and just went through with JavaScript and set the density to 0 for everything. And then in the web viewer, in the JavaScript of the web viewer, I'm parsing over the data and mapping over it and getting numbers from FileMaker and then replacing those zeros. So the first thing is just putting the code into a text object on the layout. Make sure you give it a name so that you can use the get layout attribute or get layout object attribute to get the content. And so then I'm merging those two together with data from the app. And if you look at the web viewer here, so I'm just taking the text content from the first one, which is the HTML, and then getting the second piece here, which is the GeoJSON. And then the third variable that I'm passing in is the state name and the density column from this table, where you can change the value and actually pass in a new number. And then just merge that into the template. So in that original HTML file, I just replaced a few things and put placeholders called geodata and state values. Those get merged in, And then I just had to change the HTML here just slightly. So let me pull this up, and I don't know how well we'll be able to see this. I think what I'll do is put all of this in a new text file, just so we can look at it. All right, so most of this is the same as it started. I just have those couple of placeholders that get swapped out to insert data from FileMaker. And then the way that I'm inserting it with the execute SQL, I'm using a pipe for the row separator because the paragraph symbol is, I just was having trouble using that to split everything. So splitting that data, and then for each one, going through and adding that to the map, setting that density value. So it's just almost the same thing that their example had, just changing a couple lines to insert that data. And then if we go back to browse mode here, now this is connected to your data in real time. The map will update. So I'm going to take California here and just add an extra digit, and you'll see how that got darker. And then if we take this down into the single digits, then we're at the opposite end of the scale here. Now all of the color values, this is set inside the code. So there's a section here where you can define the breakpoints for that, and then the color to use for each range. So you could create more of these if you wanted. You could change what the high value is. And the way I've set this up is that it's reading directly from this table, the states table. And when you edit those values, they render on the map. So if you want to tie in your own data, you can just add a new table, relate it by the state, and then make the density column a calculation that looks at all those related records. So for each state, it could find the total or the average or whatever value you want to display. And if that's a calculation, then when this map renders, it'll pull aggregate data from your tables, displaying it in this leaflet Choropleth map.